So I see the majority of people now are online, are pushing looks maxing, bettering yourself, losing weight, taking care of yourself, all for the goal to gain pretty privilege. Or on the flip side, it can also be people talking against pretty privileged women, saying that they don't give them a chance because of how they look, that they're uglier than them, um, that pretty girls also only should be friends with other pretty girls. But gaining pretty privilege or growing up and becoming more attractive actually reduced the empathy I have for other people, because pretty privilege isn't just about being treated better. Sometimes it changes how people treat you in ways you never expected. And over time, that can quietly change how you relate to other people too. Because it isn't only an advantage, you also face emotional backlash. So having pretty privilege triggers so many negative reactions from other people, like jealousy, resentment, insecurity, projection, subtle hostility. It's like people aren't responding to you, they're responding to what you represent to them. Before, maybe when you weren't seen as much of a threat, interactions felt like more neutral, human. And this isn't always with random people like waiters or strangers. It's can be mostly about people in your social circle. Like, people before gave you a chance. But when you have pretty privilege, when you present yourself well, people project their insecurities onto you. They assume you're vain or arrogant, or you think you're better than them. They interpret your behavior through stereotypes. You stop being treated like a person and start being treated like a symbol. And over time, that changed at least how much empathy I can give to others. So many people talk about women who are leveled down, invisible, or unnoticed. And it's true, when you're invisible, people often don't notice you or care that much about what you're doing. But when you become visible, you realize visibility comes with so much backlash. The more you're noticed, the more you're judged, and the more people other people like you, the other people resent you for being liked. So you become more guarded socially. Like, you start expecting hostility, your defensiveness increases, and you have to withdraw your emotions to protect yourself. You share less, trust less quickly, and keep distance from people to avoid being targeted that you didn't have to before, because now you've experienced it. So you develop this constant emotional fatigue. You're always dealing with jealousy, passive aggression, hate, or people really actually going out of their way, taking the time out of their life to make your life harder. And eventually you emotionally shut down. Like, having empathy for other people requires feeling emotionally safe. But when your environment constantly feels hostile or competitive, your empathy decreases in order to protect yourself. Because people unload their jealousy or insecurity onto those they perceive as more privileged, especially in passive aggressive ways where you can't even clearly point it out. Like, maybe they feel powerless elsewhere in life, so they project their frustration onto you, but really it isolates you. Because even when you're struggling, people assume, you have it all, so your emotions get overlooked. pretty privilege also doesn't just make people like you. It makes people react to you. And then it becomes very hard to find genuine connection anymore. Because people either idealize you, or resent you. Neither of these are real relationships. They're just reacting to what they think you are. You stop feeling like a human being and start feeling like this idea in other people's minds. Some people stop seeing you as a person with struggles and instead see you as competition, a threat, like this symbol. Everyone talks about the halo effect, but there are people who know the halo effect exists, feel excluded from it, and then resent the people they think benefit from it. So instead, you experience almost like an anti-halo effect. People completely judge you before even knowing you. They assume whatever about you. That you're fake, that you take advantage of people. Everyone just gives you everything for free and you take advantage of them. Some people decide they dislike you before you even speak. And honestly, they don't even listen to you, even. And they'll punish you for the life that they think you have. Even if it isn't real, it's because they're comparing what they have to what they think you have. Also, jealousy makes people justify treating you badly. Like, they don't see themselves as cruel. They don't even look at themselves. They see it as the world humbling, that they're humbling you, or they're balancing the world out. Because people generally empathize downward. Society is wired to sympathize with the visibly struggling person. So if you're perceived as winning, your pain gets invalidated. Even others that care about you or that you're closer to. The moment you're seen as above others, your emotions stop mattering. So pretty privilege really has created emotional isolation for me personally. You can't tell who is genuine and who is projecting, or at least I couldn't, because I had never dealt with it. And for me, it still takes time to figure it out. You don't know. I didn't know who to trust anymore. So it's like you just detach. Even surrounded by people, it feels like nobody actually knows you. And over time, the constant exposure to jealousy, passive aggressiveness, competition, it changes you. Like, you don't lose empathy because you're cold. You lose it because people literally use your empathy against you. Even if you're nice or kind, it's, taken the complete wrong way. If you're nice, people think it's fake. If you're quiet, they think you're arrogant. There becomes no correct or neutral way to exist once other people around you decide who you are. And after repeated experiences like this, you start expecting negativity. Like, you expect projection from people. People even say only be friends with other pretty girls. And honestly, before I did not get it. But there is a reason for this. Sometimes those women understand the experience. Honestly, the majority of the time they understand the experience, and they're way less likely to immediately put you into a box. The more people project onto you, the less you trust what they're showing you. Pretty privilege doesn't just give you advantages, it changes how people treat you. and honestly, eventually how you see other people too. If you've ever felt people projected onto you before even knowing, comment below, because I think more people experience this than they admit. And to be completely honest, I've projected assumptions onto someone attractive before even speaking to them, before when I was leveled down, and now even, there's this image. And you can take it as a positive image. For me, it's like inspiration, but for many others, it is definitely not. It's what they could never reach. So, but the truth is, people often don't hate you personally, but they hate how they feel next to you, how they judge themselves compared to you, but then they take it out on you. And after a while, you just stop trying to understand people, because they never tried to understand you. They never even gave you one chance. They just labeled whatever they thought you are. People feel entitled to dislike you, not based on your behavior, but on how you make them feel about themselves. You didn't do anything. You just existed. And that triggered them. You become also a target for, I guess, like correcting their ego, or ego correction. People try to humble you, bring you down, or like balance what they see as your advantage. People are constantly competing with you without your consent. You're placed into this competition you never entered. Everything becomes comparison, ranking, rivalry, even with people you barely know, and they don't know you. And on top of that, you're not even allowed to struggle publicly. If you show pain, it's minimized or ignored because it doesn't fit the narrative people created about you. And the person that's attacking you, it makes them happy because they're leveling the playing field in their own mind. They feel the world treats them horribly, and they feel miserable. So it makes them happy to see that you're miserable like them as well. People rewrite your personality to justify how they treat you. If they dislike you, they label you shallow, fake, you're manipulative, you're a liar, and create a version of you that deserves the mistreatment. You're punished for traits you don't even have. For example, because I'm not with a dusty man, I'm with a self-sufficient man, thank God. People close to me or close to him or in our circle have called me a gold digger or assumed I'm only with him for money. Even I've been called a prostitute before. Never in my life. And it's like, I just love this person. Obviously, I'm with him for a reason. But even people that know us creates, or that we know of, create a narrative anyway. And then they've punished me for it without ever giving me a chance. And I'm sure other people have had the same. Attention doesn't equal connection. And honestly, many times or sometimes it replaces connection. People engage with your image and not with you. And eventually, after enough projection, you start prejudging people too. Empathy becomes conditional because empathy became conditional towards you. The more visible you are, the less control you have over how you're perceived. People don't even need evidence to judge you. They just need their own feelings and insecurities. There's no evidence for what they think, even. And once someone decides who you are, everything you do becomes proof to them. Sometimes kindness even makes it worse because it like conflicts with this bullshit negative image of you. So then they distrust you even more. You lose this ability to just live, to just be neutral or just be invisible. Really, I miss being invisible. Everything gets interpreted as something. If you're silent, you have an attitude. If you're confident, no, you're arrogant. You think you're too good. If you're kind, you're manipulative. Really. There's no neutral version of you once people decide your role. People even bond over disliking you. Gossiping, comparing, spreading rumors. Sometimes, you're the glue holding other people's friendships together. They don't barely know each other, but once they started talking about you, now they're besties, really. And honestly, the worst part is it changes how you view humanity. Really, I lost in some way my innocence. I never realized how far people would go out of their way to create problems in someone else's life for no reason, to hurt other people. And most people, at least before, get the chance to explain themselves. But, when people already decided who you are, they don't misunderstand you. You have no chance. They just defined who you are. Other people don't even interact with you directly anymore. They filter everything through their insecurities and their assumptions and their labels of you. They're not meeting you, even. They're not going to coffee with you. They're meeting the idea of you. And yes, empathy isn't always reciprocated, no matter who you are. But when you're perceived as attractive or privileged, it feels even rarer. Or basically, sometimes non-existent, besides the people you're very close to. It removes your innocence. It's removed my innocence. I stopped believing people are neutral, fair, truthful, just generally kind. You stop taking people at face value. You become selective about who you're vulnerable with because you realize how ego-driven so much of society is. And eventually, but at least personally, you stop trying to correct people because they don't want the truth. They don't care. And anything you say will just be twisted. They just want to use whatever you say for confirmation of whatever the fuck they think. You can't explain yourself out of someone else's insecurity. And honestly, that's the saddest part. Really, it makes you lose hope in humanity a little bit. Because you realize how many people will spend time obsessing over you, trying to hurt you, or make your life harder for absolutely no reason. Pretty privilege really made me less empathetic because it showed me a side of people I never expected to see. And that's hard. Yeah, I don't know. Tell me honestly in the comments, do you think pretty privilege only benefits people? Or do you think there's a social backlash that people avoid talking about?